Hello friends, it's T90. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome. We've got a really unique video on our hands with part 2 of the Legend of YouPudding. Now, I'm not trying to be promoty because you already showed up to watch one video. How dare I ask you to go watch another one first? But if you really want to get the most out of part 2, which is what this is, you should definitely make sure you watch the first one, which I uploaded a month or two ago, and it dives into YouPudding when this was new, okay? So I will assume that if you're watching this now, you have already seen The Legend of YouPudding. Let's get into it. All right, so the big thing I talked about in the very first video with the YouPudding strategy is that there's surprise factor to it because no one's really playing the Sicilians and no one knows YouPudding's reputation. For unique strategies, especially all-in strategies, half the battle is expecting it. And once you expect it, then you can theorize a little bit on how to play it, on how to play against it, okay? The thing is that YouPudding is clearly like a really good player. I looked at his profile and he's 2K plus player. So this is not a player who is inexperienced against, you know, the types of strategies you might see out there. And he has only evolved a little bit with his strategy, okay? Now, at the time of recording this, the elo for YouPudding's at the bottom right, so he's 2200 plus, which puts him close to the top 100. And he's the underdog in this one against a Polish player named Jack, who's currently sitting close to like the top 50 region, okay? They got really good players. So let's break down what YouPudding did in the first games that I showed you and kind of what the idea is, okay? So his whole strategy relies around the sergeant, which you see at the top left. And the sergeant could be created out of the tower for the Sicilians, which is the donjon, okay? So the donjon can defend a resource, or I guess you could use it offensively. It shoots arrows, right? It's similar to a tower, and it can create your unique unit. And then the donjon can also produce more sergeants. Now, typically, like, you don't see sergeants much with the Sicilians. Sicilians, and guys, this is what makes the strat so cool. Sicilians are just not a good open map civilization because there's not a lot of bonuses they could take advantage of early. For example, their farms have more food on it after farm upgrades. Woo! That means it's going to take a long time. Their TCs build faster. Their castles build faster. But in Dark Age and Feudal Age, they don't really have anything. Like the Britons, for example, they have the sheep bonus. Right? They've already collected food a little bit faster. Their archer range will produce faster. Starting in Feudal, there's early bonuses. So, what YouPudding was doing, and will continue to try and do here, is his little sergeant rush. And what has made this be a possibility, mentioned it in the first episode, is the fact that the sergeants get increased stats when they make it to Castle Age. So, guys, we're going to have a few games, okay? So I'm going to speed through this portion because there's not much more to say. And I want to show you all, like, a different variety of games that have happened this week and see how people are performing against this now that it's a bit more known. Like, I made a video about it. The thing is the top 100 aren't necessarily loading up T90 videos before they go to bed. Some do, you know, some guys are like, yo, that's crazy. Other people are not at all. So I don't know how informed Jack is, but Jack's going to go 18 pop. He's going to click up really quickly here, okay? Because I've been seeing people talk about this, and there's going to be a portion where I touch on people's opinions in the comments of my videos and also on the subreddit. A lot of people are like, well, you just gotta hit him faster. As always, what I think makes, you know, the all-in here, the greedy fast castle interesting is the fact that you're doing it on Arabia, which is a really open map. So that's what YouPudding is doing. Now, what YouPudding had done the first time, as we see Jack run into the TC, is he did add any farms in most cases. So I've watched, like, I don't know, 10 of his games, guys. And he's adapted his build. And he almost always has 2 farms now. So he doesn't go up quite as quick at times. Notice how delayed he is. He gets loom before clicking up. I'll slow it down now. We're just going to speed through some of it. But yeah, YouPudding's walling up right now. He's not completely walled. So he has to be careful because the scout from Jack could potentially kill this Vil. So, you know, Jack at home. You wanted to go scouts here. So he's going to go, he's up quite quickly. And for most builds, you get your eco upgrade, like your wood upgrade that helps you in the long run. You make your military building. And you think about pushing forward. I think right now, Jack just had a oh crap moment where, oh, I see my opponent's walled. He's not going to make army. And his idea here, and this is a good snipe from him. He had a weak scalp, but since he's in feudal, he gets the kill. His idea here is actually just to add farms over time after horse color. So he's actually adapted his build because originally he was going to add army. He's not going to add any army here. He's just going to go for farms. So, I mean, YouPudding's in the dark. He's walled. You know, might be concerned that maybe archers or something will come in here. But he's going to make it to the next stage. And, like, his resources are looking fierce. Like, his resources are looking fantastic to be able to get the job done. So, and then Jack's just going to wall up. Because, like, Jack's like, okay, well, he's just going to stay behind his walls. I'll just do the same. And he has gone for the no aggression approach. And now we're going to fast forward a little bit. Show you how that works out. Because I think the idea is to show you, how's this guy doing now that people know? What approaches are being tried? What's working, what's not, all right? So YouPudding in the dark on this. Drops his donjon. I know a lot of you guys right now are like, this is high level. We haven't seen any aggression from Jack. What in the world? A little off from Jack. Again, I think his plans changed, but ultimately, I don't know if Jack knew YouPudding strategy at this point. He knows it's fast castle, but I mean, like, does he know the guy's reputation is, I guess, my point. I think right now he's thinking I just wall. My opponent goes fast castle. Maybe he siege pushes me or something. But that's going to be the extent of it. And then when I'm in the next stage, I'm going to have really good economy. Because if you look at Reds collected, it's probably close. But Jack's going to start to pull ahead in some ways because of his eco setup. All right, so here come some sergeants. They're on the way. Now, it's just so funny, dude. Like, this guy, he's blind. He doesn't know. And notice, no farms are being reseeded. We don't have any wood upgrade, no farm upgrade, nothing. This whole strategy is supposed to be all in, right? So sergeants are getting armor. And look at the stats of the sergeants now. You've got 5 base attack. Okay, 50 HP. This bear is threatening the sergeant, which is pretty ridiculous. But YouPudding just looking around. Like, it's such a weird thing. This is high-level Age of Empires 2. It doesn't feel real. Just random sergeants walking forward. And now he knows where the opponent's TC is. But do you see how tanky these things are now? You get extra armor, extra HP, and there's 7 of them on the field. The spearman went down. The bear's obviously going to go down. And what is YouPudding going to do? Well, YouPudding sees the gold, and YouPudding's going to just drop a donjon here. There goes Jack up to the next stage. Now, remember, like a normal fast castle, like a normal Castle Age time on the back of Feudal Age play is maybe like 19.5 minutes. We're at 16 minutes right now, and YouPudding has 9 military units and is towering the opponent and is already making siege. Like, this hits so quickly. Jack's, trying to figure things out, but this clearly is an example to me of a guy who didn't really know what to do. And a lot of that, I think, is because players are so used to playing the same way at a high level right now that this strategy completely breaks high-level meta, and it forces you out of your comfort zone. It's weird. And it still falls into this category, I think, in many people's minds of I shouldn't lose to this. But I actually think, how did this guy get through here? I actually think maybe you should lose to this. I think the strategy's pretty good. Anyways, what do you need when a game is messy? Usually you need that market. There's YouPudding taking down the market. Sergeants galore, second ram coming out. And unfortunately for Jack, his golds are all exposed. His other golds are outside of his base here. And right now, I think he's going to plan to go up to Castle Age and into a siege workshop. Sergeant is killing villagers. Jack's just lost 1 villager, though. He's going to run away. The thing the sergeants do lack is speed. So that is kind of a concern. They're not really that good at killing villagers. And then Jack is going to see this. He seems very confused right now. He's like, where do I go? And he goes for a monastery. I mean, there's just, regardless of what he goes for, he's screwed. He gets a Castle Age to 1825, which is lightning quick. And now there's 11 units underneath his TC. He's not going to have a TC. And all these villagers are going to die. And Jack calls the GG. He might be like T90. That game was kind of lame. Well, that's one approach, okay? People are still trying to figure it out. That's one approach. Let's look at another one. All right, so here's another game. Got Sicilians for YouPudding. Surprise, surprise. He's up against the Malians this time. Malians definitely feel like a civilization that could take anybody these days, especially on an open map Arabia. And I mean, you can pretty much see anything from the Malians, which is what makes them strong. All their wood buildings are cheap, allows for some flexibility there. Scouts, archers, knights, all that stuff, very strong. So, I don't know how to say this individual's name, but this individual is lower rated than Jack was, but around 2150. Player, I believe it's from China, but I could be wrong on that. Anyways, Sicilian's obviously for YouPudding, and we'll see what he does again this time. So in the previous game, basically we saw Jack say he tried to go Castle Age, right? Because when there's an extreme strategy, sometimes you have to choose an extreme. I think in Castle Age, you have your best options available, which might be like Knights and Siege. But unfortunately for him, he couldn't get to Castle Age in time. Maybe needed to be part of Jack's original plan. So other ideas could be pressuring heavily in Feudal Age, right? And we're going to see even Dark Age play here from Blue, which is why I want to show you this, right? It's like, I want to show you every single approach against the strat and show you how YouPudding deals with it. Now, what I like about YouPudding is how he's invested a little bit more into the economy, right? And he seems to time his walls a bit better than the first episode as well, because in the first episode, I felt like he was walling too late, and he was always losing villagers. Like, he was always losing 3 or 4 villagers. Now it feels like he gets the timing right. And I think Blue's trying to stop those walls in some capacity, or at least punish his opponent for walling. And this is going to be really clean. We call this the Frush these days. 19 population click up to Feudal Age. Really fast uptime. Blue's scouting to find the opponent, looking to do damage. This is going to be, there's going to be 2 militia that come out of this. This won't be an upgrade to man-at-arms. It's just 2 militia to get some value. And then that into archers behind it. So this is, per our meta, pretty much the fastest you tend to see attacks these days. And YouPudding walling up just in time. It does lose 2 sheep, so Blue's not messing around there. And Blue now looking to find some damage. And Blue's going to see this now. Okay. So just like the previous game, YouPudding's going to lose a scout, right? Feels like he probably will. Blue needs to get in front and block. You run past and then you block. Yeah, okay. So, okay, YouPudding's not going to lose the scout. My apologies. Blue's done a good job. The idea of the militia is to apply some pressure. And then behind this, ideally, you have an instant archer range. And there's the archer range for Blue. Bit of a weird spot for it, but he was making a wall. And yeah. Now, elsewhere, we have Blue just building a couple farms at home, going out to get hunt. This is all like good meta stuff. And Blue really wants to know, where is YouPudding taking resources? Because he has to know there's gold in here. We know the gold is here. We also know the wood line that's being taken is here. And Blue runs under the TC. He's doing everything he can. That's 300 food down the drain then for YouPudding, right? Because these 2 goats are going away. That goat just got shot down. That was really sneaky stuff from Blue. Now, first archer is going to be on the way. Second archer will be up right behind this. Again, remember, I know that YouPudding kind of makes games feel like they're at a different pace. This is normal timing on this type of thing. And YouPudding, being in Feudal Age now, drops that donjon on what I think is the most important resource for YouPudding, which is the gold. Because these 2 farms are going to run out. He's not going to make any more farms, so he doesn't really need the wood for that. And then he's just going to buy food. And it's going to be a timing attack, and he's going to try and break his opponent. So, you know, this is one range, fast fletching type of build order from Blue. This is all standard meta stuff against a break the meta strat. And YouPudding gets Loom right when he needs it, right? Because archers are showing up. And Blue is here. Now, I think it's important to note, a lot of players are really comfortable if they just deny resources. Right? So right now, your farm count's getting higher. You've brought in another deer. You're going to have goats. You've got the berries. You're getting your walls down. You're applying pressure, right? You haven't necessarily killed anything yet, but these are villagers now that can't collect food, which is an important resource for your opponent. So you feel pretty good with this type of damage. But what I'd like to see from Blue, now that you know the wood is here at least, is maybe sit 1 archer behind the wood line. But then that's less of a threat, you know, if you're going to break in. So we're 13 minutes into the game. YouPudding found roughly where his opponent is. Looks like he's going to bring sheep back home. He's made his first sergeant. Right now, 50 HP, 2 armor, 5 attack. That's not enough to fight this. It would be a mistake. But, you know, he's thinking about his attack here. And YouPudding just ignoring this right now. In a normal game, in a normal strategy, you would need the berries. Not having the berries, not having this position could be a problem. So he's just waltzing forward with these 2 units. And I think blue might have spotted something here. And again, if you see any inactivity on blue's parts, because back at home, you add the farms, you wall up, you do all that. The idea is you invest long-term into resources, right? And eco-balance. Looks like the TC is actually going to hit 2 archers here, which is really going to hurt for blue. And I don't think he realizes that at the moment. So now his archers have gone down. That hurts massively. But guys, I really feel that we are in an archer-heavy meta right now at with the pro scene. I really feel that archers get countered so hard by this strategy. And I think that's why it's working so well right now. So let's just watch. Like right now, look, he gets to the next stage. 75 HP now. These archers have fletching. Look how long it's going to take them to get kills. And now armor's in. So you got 4 pierce armor. The archers are doing 1 damage. And you just don't have time to get crossbowmen. Look at YouPudding. He just splits up. He doesn't look at his economy because he's not producing anymore. And it's just like this crazy mess. And look at that! He's going to make a dungeon in blue's base. I would delete it, maybe. Okay, he deletes it so he gets the res back. So yeah, blue's got more villagers and, you know, should have more efficiency, right? But these sergeants are so freaking hard to kill. And we're at the 16th minute. Like, what blue's doing right now is everything he can do. Because any other suggestion you make, he just never goes to Castle Age. But these units are they just devastate archers. And obviously devastate villagers. And then the idea is, obviously, it's just going to be buying food, buying food, buying food. As you've got all these villagers on gold. That's before we even talk about the scorpions he's mixing in currently. I think YouPudding's experienced enough to know this is enough damage. Like, he's done this enough times. The villagers are all idled for blue. Blue's losing lots of villagers. There's now a scorpion. And so with the 19 pop, 2 militia into archers, YouPudding was very resourceful with the walling. Got the fast castle down like it was no problem. Didn't lose any villagers. Has now killed 10. This sergeant's a beast. This sergeant continues to just kill villagers. It finally goes down. But, I mean, these scorpions were being repaired, and blue's like, get me out of here. 17-minute, 56-second game. It's still working. His elo's actually gone up. Let me show you one more game, though, okay? I'm going to show you one more game, and then stay with me, guys, because this isn't just about YouPudding. This strategy is expanding. It's spreading like a very intriguing virus. And at the end, I've got something special to tell you. All right, so here we have another game. Obviously, all these are played on Arabia, which, again, should blow your mind. Fast castle strategy is not really a thing at a high level on Arabia because it's so open and there's so much potential for damage, okay? But it seems like the timings that YouPudding's been able to find with this strat, able to get the job done, right? So thus far, what have we seen? We saw Jack in game 1 kind of try and like adapt into his own castle age and figure things out from there. His own castle age was far too late. The fact that he had horse color for his farms didn't matter because the game didn't last all that long, okay? In the previous game, we had the Frush, the French Drush, the 2 militia into archers, into fletching. I do think that blue could have possibly done a little bit more with his archers. But even still, really felt kind of inevitable that YouPudding's getting to a lot of sergeants, and then the archers just weren't going to be it. In this game, we're going to have a different approach because players are, I think, starting to get an idea of how to potentially beat this YouPudding guy, okay? And this is the strongest player we've seen yet against YouPudding. We've got Jibitong, who is like 2,400, 2,350. Used to be a top 20, top 30 talent. Kind of fell off a little bit. Definitely top 50 in the world, but ranked-wise, even has climbed above that. So, we know what YouPudding's going to do, right? We know what YouPudding is going to do. So let's speed up a little bit, all right? So here's what I think, okay? I think that this strategy is good because feudal age units are not a great answer to sergeants. And obviously YouPudding is extremely good at not taking damage. It's an intelligent player. This is some guy who's just, getting lucky. Like he truly has nice balance with everything, and this whole thing is tested and tried and true. But like scouts can't beat sergeants that are 75 HP, 8 base attack. Archers can't kill it either. So if you know the legend Huang, the guy who goes like fast castle with Celts and does all that Celt ETC stuff, with Huang you have to beat him with different extremes. So it's either full feudal, so you make a ton of units, right? Or you just go castle age yourself and make stuff there as well. So I think players are so used to making 4 scouts and transitioning into a couple archers and then eventually making their way to castle age. They've got this idea of how they want to play the game because of the long term. You can't play with long term in mind against YouPudding. So what I want to see from Jibitong here is I want to see more investment. And I felt like in the previous game that had YouPudding been towered, that there could have potentially been some problems for him. All right. This is a pretty solid uptime for Jibitong. Jibitong's been pretty good here in this Dark Age. Just scouting. Well, actually, it doesn't scout his opponent at all. Being greedy, let's say. Being greedy against a greedy player is not necessarily the worst thing ever. And if he could apply enough pressure all the time and, deny crucial resources to YouPudding, then ideally YouPudding will need to stay at home and clean that up. And then this economy could be good in the long run. All right, well, we will slow things down in a second, don't you worry. And we're going to see a stable from Jibitong as he wants to go for scouts. So, okay. So here we are. Jibitong going for a standard scout play. And obviously is going to have quite a few scouts coming out. Now, he hasn't found his opponent yet, which kind of hurts. But YouPudding already knows I'm vulnerable. I'm used to this. So I'm going to wall in my berries. And he's gone for an interesting little C-shaped wall around the gold. Now, this is still exposed. Still an area where scouts could run in. He doesn't have a barrack, so he can't make spearmen, right? So YouPudding is scouted a little bit. He knows his opponent's going to go scouts now. So he has that intel. And he's going to make his market here. His donjon here. And it's really smart. I think the idea is this is to protect the gold. And this is to protect the wood. Now look at Jibitong. Jibitong knows something's up. Even if Jibitong had never played this player before, he will have recognized at this point, my opponent's doing something funky here. I'm going to have all this army. Let's punish him, right? Because he is not going to have army. So he's thinking towers, which I think is a really nice idea. YouPudding just staying at home with his scout. He knows it's scouts, and he figures, well, in here could be a vulnerability. So we just adapt and we wall like this. And here comes that tower from Jibitong. This is kind of what I wanted to see from blue in the previous game. So, red doesn't see that. The scouts from Jibitong hoping to break through here. The bush is almost finished off, guys. There's 10 more food there, and Jibitong's waiting. Now here, the donjon for YouPudding actually can range this. So that could potentially be an issue for him. But here comes another villager from Jibitong. So Jibitong at home, guys, is on stone. So he's not farming. He's not playing the long game. He wants to get kills quickly here. And obviously, YouPudding, surprise, surprise, on the way to the next stage right now. And, well, fortunately for him, he's able to just garrison here. And he could eventually shoot this tower down. But it's still idle time. It's still resource you can't take. Here, YouPudding deletes his mill. What's he going to make? He's going to make sergeants. Well, sergeants, they cost food. Right? So now no berries. Those 2 farms will expire any second. This could be rough. Literally no access to wood right now because of this tower. And still YouPudding goes forward. So, like, I feel like in a normal game, this is a little sloppy from Jibitong. Poor Jibitong's looking for damage, right? Probably can't believe it. It would be especially frustrating if he were to lose a villager because he's applied pressure. But, like, YouPudding is just waltzing right into this guy's base. Just like, I don't care. Tower it. Go ahead. I don't need that. Tower it. Go ahead. I don't need this. He's just got sergeants waltzing right into Jibitong's base. Now, Jibitong's gone for the extreme of towers to deny resources. But he's not denying the most important resource, which is actually the gold. So now in, a couple seconds, these sergeants are going to be upgraded. And there's no way these scouts could win the fight because the sergeants have such high stats. This is at 15 minutes and 7 seconds. It doesn't feel fast because we're used to it now. That's insane. And there's some boldness to it, right? But you'll see what I mean in a second, because YouPudding, he's like, oh, I'm in his base? Well, I'm sick of walking across the map. Let's make a new one. Can you imagine being Jibitong right now and seeing that? Like, what a flex. What a flex. So the other sergeants are going to group up. Jibitong's like, oh, I guess we tower. And his scouts are dead. His spears are dead. He's trying tower defense to hold against these things that now have great stats. And, you know, unfortunately, your eco's a wreck as well, right? So even if you somehow hold from this, and there's no wood income for you, well, I guess there is now. It says he has 10 on wood. Oh, he's chopping the straggler trees. Anyways, it's just so much happening so quick that we have another player who's in feudal age and another player who seemingly has no answer to this. And YouPudding strategy, even though people know about now, continues to work in the Arabian meta. Jibitong's stuck in feudal. He might as well continue to stay in feudal. And so Jibitong, I guarantee there's a little bit of frustration for him, right? He's not used to these types of games. He's going to make some more scouts. And in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, well, my opponent he's not creating vills, which is true. YouPudding stops creating vills. He spends all of his food on this army. So sometimes you feel as though you could stay in feudal age and still be okay, as long as you can just make enough scouts. The problem is, I think 2 scouts can't beat a sergeant. I don't even know if 3 scouts can beat a sergeant, because they take 1 damage a hit. What about 4? Like, the numbers are not good, whatever the numbers end up being. And now Jibitong sees the siege workshop, and there's going to be rams, and, well, I mean, you've got stone. Maybe you want to save up for organ guns eventually, but you need to get castle age for that. In order to get castle age, you need a TC. So, guys, I think what YouPudding has done a good job of ever since I showed him in that video is he's actually got his timings down a little bit more down pat. He has really good damage control, and he doesn't actually prioritize armor anymore. Sorry, the first armor he typically gets, but I remember him going for a lot of the other armor upgrades, and he doesn't really care about that. Like the second armor, I guess, there's not a lot more. Didn't even realize this was happening, by the way. Not even looking at home. Like, this is Jibitong battered that whole thing down and brought the scouts in, and now YouPudding realizes, which is actually kind of awkward. Like, this is a problem. Now all your villagers don't have a job. But if you're Jibitong, your villagers aren't going to have a job either. Jibitong's down to 18, and the eco KD is 23-1. I mean, these villagers could literally just sit in the town center and rest for the rest of this game if they want to, because pretty soon Jibitong is going to lose everything he has at home. And that even makes it a little bit more frustrating if you're Jibitong, right? Because you've actually taken him completely off of gold. You also, I think I would be a little bit more frustrated if I saw how long it took the guy to react as well. Right? You're like, come on, he's not even looking at home and he's killing me. What is this? You just feel so... You feel a little incompetent as a player when your opponent isn't paying attention. Having played against Huang dozens of times, and YouPudding just once, actually, that was what kind of prompted me to look at the rest of his games, is when I had played him. I didn't show that in any videos. It wasn't very exciting, but anyways, I've been there. And this is going to end the game. This is going to be another really quick game, and every single game YouPudding has played is with Sicilian. Every single game is the same thing. And he's 2k2 plus, guys. It's a really good strat. And I think the way to beat it is to go fast castle as well. Because feudal age units do not cut it. What on earth is this? This is just like... This is insane. Where are his bills? Oh, he's over here. Jibitong found him. Villagers fighting back. Meanwhile, Jibitong's villagers are going forward. This is so funny. Jibitong's 11 pop, and he calls it GG. So yeah, I think players, this works well because everyone's going feudal age strat. It doesn't matter how you play it. It feels like if you tower with scouts, if you go archers and whatnot, that it's just not going to be fast enough. By the time you get, for someone who's like, well, just make more archers, right? It's an infantry unit. It's slow. By the time you do that, you have a 75 HP unit with enough armor where you do 1 damage a hit, right? What, do you have 20 archers? Go ahead. Run around the whole map trying to kill these guys. You'll be running away from where you need to be because there's going to be sergeants going into your base as well. So YouPudding, able to continue to do this strategy. It's working against really big names, okay? He's still 2K2 plus. Crazy stuff. However, there has been someone, maybe multiple people, but one player in particular who has been inspired by YouPudding and has a unique approach, which is a spin-off of what YouPudding has done here, but it's even more extreme. And this player has gone up hundreds of elo. This player has been dominating the ladder at their rank so much that people are making posts about it and are really frustrated and just don't know how to stop it right now. So that's going to be in part 3. That'll come in a couple days. So do me a favor. Give me your thoughts on the strat, okay? Give me your thoughts on YouPudding. You know, give me your thoughts on the vid. You know, I like to see that. Like the video if you can, because I'm taking time, you know, to break this stuff down. I'm going to do it anyways. I have a good time. But it's a motivational thing for me. You know, it's weird, the whole content creator thing. The I've liked video mean so much. But anyways, just do that for me and stick around. Come back in a couple days because we're going to have part 3. You're not going to want to miss this one, okay? It's something special.